Good evening and welcome to Family Matters. On 24th, the night of 24th and 25th of this month, the government will conduct the national census. Of course, it happens every 10 years. The last time it was done was the year 2009. Were you counted? And if you are counted this August, how many times shall it be? But what makes this one unique is that for the first time there will be a third marker. Normally we have the male and female, but this time round the government has decided to add intersex. Of course, this was not a decision that was made overnight. A lot went into that particular decision. What is this process that took place? Of course, in studio with me, a number of guests. One of them, probably you know her. She is a commissioner with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, Jedida Waruhio. Yes. And the other guest will introduce, it will be a self-introduction. I tried reaching consensus with the guest on how to introduce, but I will give the guest that opportunity to do so. Irene Nyambura and Peter Mangi. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
So how do I introduce myself? But I am Mirwidera, aka James Karanja. Both are my official names.
And of course, we'll be understanding why all the names.
Okay,
but thank you very much for coming to the program. On 24th and 25th, of course, during the night, census will be coming. But it is unique because we have a third marker. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights really did play a part in this particular decision by the government. But let's begin by defining the term intersex. Yes.
Okay, intersex persons are individuals, children who are born with ambiguous physical sex characteristics. And also there are children who are born with mixed chromosomes instead of the typical XXXY. They also may be children who are born with different hormones. The hormones are not consistent with the usual binary of male and female, or they are children who are born with gonads. That is, physically they could look female like the way I do, but internally I have both testes and an ovary. So there are four ways you can identify an intersex person. However, for a long time, we've identified intersex persons by the mixed genital reproductive health, genitalia mix, the physical look, but that's the way they are. The issue of intersex is not just a Kenya National Human Rights Commission issue. Actually, in 2017, the Honorable Attorney General put together a task force to look into how intersex persons were being treated in this country, and asked the task force to really find out how the government can be able to protect and assist intersex persons in all aspects of their life. So that is how the last leg of this journey has begun, though it's older than that, because we've had a number of cases that started way back in 2007 to date.
All right. Yeah. So how did you get the government to the negotiating table and argue out your position? Because we know that for a very long time, dealing with such issues, especially with the government, any government, has been really, really hard.
I think intersex is an easy discussion because it's a biological sex characteristic. So there's nothing new we are putting on the table. It's just that historically, intersex persons who are historically known as hermaphrodites are individuals in this country who were born that way but have been marginalized and discriminated. And when the first intersex case came up in 2007, this was the RM case. This was a prisoner who was detained in Kamiti Maximum Prison. And the matter went to court because there was a problem in terms of him being detained at Kamiti Maximum Prison. And the court, one of the things that it said that was very progressive was that an intersex person too has human dignity, just like you and I, who are male or female. Really the landmark case that has made more significant meaning is the Baby A case, which in this case, Baby A could not be registered in terms of being given a birth certificate. Baby A left the hospital with markers on their birth notification. And therefore, when the mother went to the registrar of births and deaths, they could not register Baby A because the sex marker was unclear because of the ambiguity. And when this matter came to court, the court was very, very progressive in terms of the decision that it made. And one, it says that every child has a right to an identity and to be registered. And therefore, Baby A should get a birth certificate, just like you and I. And two, the Attorney General was asked to look seriously into this issue of intersex, because we're not talking about one or two people. We're really talking about a community of people who are intersex. And the Attorney General took that very seriously. And that's how the discussion and the dialogue within government began. And when the task force then was formed in 2017, it went across the country, spoke to parents who have intersex children, spoke to adults who are intersex themselves, just to appreciate the various challenges that they were experiencing. And the outcome of that was the first ever document provided leadership by the state, that's the Attorney General's office, that said that there's a huge problem in terms of policy, in terms of administrative, in terms of even understanding how many intersex persons are there in this country and where they are. Because using the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights guidance is that in every community there must be, there are usually 0.05 to 1.7% intersex person. In this case, if you use the 47 Kenya National Bureau of Statistics estimate of 47 million of 2018, then it means we'd have about 23,000 to about 800,000 intersex persons in this country. Wow. And that's why then the census became necessary, because the recommendations were from the Office of the Attorney General. There was enough public consultation in terms of the various issues, and therefore, as a country, the decision by the Bureau of Statistics to have the first of the third marker was very significant, and I think it's a great stride in the right direction.
And of course, there's still a lot more that needs to be done, because some of these things have not been provided in our laws. We'll be talking about that. But
just a minute. Our laws already speak on intersex.
It speaks on the intersex. Yes. But the question is, right now, are you able to get a birth certificate?
That's a challenge because of the sex marker.
Yes.
However, when you look at some of the laws, like if you look at the Persons Deprived of Liberty Act, it already defines an intersex person, and it says when an intersex person is arrested or detained, first of all, at arrest, and you want to search them, you must, the intersex person has the choice to choose whether they'll be searched by a male or by a female. Okay. If they are detained, then you detain them separately and make sure they have special facilities. It's also found in the National Police standing orders. So we've made headway in terms of legislation. The challenge we have, and that's why Karanja or Ruth introduces the way he introduces, because you cannot change the sex marker as is now at the Registrar of Births. And that is discriminatory to them.
We will get to that. So how do you prefer I refer to you, Karanja or Ruth?
No, I'm James Karanja. James That's how Karanja. I prefer. But at the end of the day, both Mary and James are my legal names. I cannot do away with them unless there is a systematic way.
All right. So how has it been for you? How old now?
28.
All right. 28 years. I know before the task force was formed to formalize everything, it must have been really hard. But you know, when you speak about a condition or a situation being really hard for someone, you can only describe it when you're going through it. How has it been for you?
I think I have had a very rough life. I wouldn't like even anybody to go through it. And basically it comes from a systematic discrimination, you have a family discrimination, you have yourself stigma, and most of the time what the solution that you will always look for is committing suicide.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've thought about it?
I've tried it 3 times, not thinking about it, and I've always wondered why it was never successful, but maybe it's because I was supposed to be here.
How long ago was it? When was the last time you thought about it?
I think it was in 2014. So it was I completed high school in 2010. The first time I tried it was in 2011, then 2012, 2013 I did not, then 2014.
This is it's based on how people treat you or how you look at yourself. What's that number one reason as to why you wanted to do it?
I think it's both. And one of the most critical aspects in an individual's life is a family. And I did not have that because when I was born, my father said that this was a curse. So he left away. So my mother's marriage broke. And then growing up in a family where everybody points you, if there's anything bad that happens in the family, you're the bad omen. And then outside the larger society, everybody is like, when you're going on the street, they are pointing at you, fingers, and nobody will even give you some small kind of a work for you, to maintain yourself because they think you're bad omen. So when you have all these kind of things around you, you have no one to talk to. So I think suicide becomes the next option.
Wow. But of course, there's a support system that is going on that you're a benefit of.
Which
a
is?
Beneficiary of. There's none?
No, none that, from a state-wise, there's nothing that exists.
Wow. There is still a lot of work.
There's a lot of work. There's a lot of work to be done. He's very right. And that's why the bold step of counting intersex persons, the first thing it does, it gives them dignity as human beings.
Irene,
Yeah,
welcome to the program.
thank you.
Have you ever been to KBC before?
No, it's my first time.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What is your story?
I have a child who has this condition, and that's why I'm here. Yeah.
How old?
8.5 years.
What was your first reaction when you gave birth? Of course, you have to hold your child. Or did you know about the condition before the child was born?
No, I didn't know. Even when I went for scan, I was told it's a boy. I didn't know much about it until I gave birth. That's when the midwife told me he has a problem. I have to go for a clinic, and that's where I started.
So what was your first reaction when you found out?
I didn't take it, so I took it lightly because I was told it's just an decided testis, but I didn't know it's a long journey I'm starting.
And how has it been for you for 8 years?
It has been tough. I have faced a lot of challenges. It's a condition that I never knew it existed. It was so painful.
I know that as a parent, you're supposed to show your child the love that he or she needs. And you're also supposed to protect that child from all the bad or the evil that is there in the world. How do you make your child understand that no matter the circumstances, no matter the condition, the love is still the same?
I do. I love him so much. I just raise him as others. I have other children.
How many?
I have 3. And Then the second one is the intersex. I just give him the love I give to the others. So you cannot differentiate this is a special child, no. But sometimes we tell him, you are very special. You are very special.
Does he have friends?
Yeah.
Does he have friends?
Yeah.
Do the friends know about his situation?
Not really. Not really.
Are you
They
waiting?
don't know the exact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are you waiting for him to tell the friends, or you will call the friends and make them understand? Because a child needs friends who, who knows them.
You know, he's still young.
Yeah.
Even as we speak to him, day and day we just go step by step. He doesn't know much.
All right.
Yeah.
Peter.
Yes.
What is your story?
My story as a man is tough. When we realized, I'm happy the way my wife is explaining the situation. As a man, I was happy when I was told I have got a baby boy.
Yeah.
And I went to hospital. Only something that was mentioned. My child has a biguous genitalia. Not that scary,
Yeah.
but when they checked, this is a boy. Only some few clinics, when we were told we need to go to our national hospital so that our child can be now checked well. After a scan, we were told just something minor. We need to undergo, our child needs to undergo a small surgery, just a slight surgery. To a shock, I was called by my wife telling me, my husband come. Why? She could not even be able to communicate. And I will never forget this time. Because when she came out of theater, one of the doctors just told her direct, from this stage, your child will never happen, something will not go on well, she cannot maybe give birth or such. But I thank God for a counselor. In fact, I was called because she fainted when she heard the story. I went and we were called by a counselor who explained in details about the condition, where they did a biopsy or something, warikata kanyama on top and the lower part to test what is this.
Yeah.
The result outcome was our child has what we call an ovotestis on the right side and an ovary on the left side. You can imagine with a word they are adding, because where we are, we cannot fear anymore. They had written a hermaphrodite. And I'm giving you a story where what we have gone through in the last years. So then they said to you, I need to also to undergo a certain test by name karyotype. Surprisingly, it's not done in Kenya. So we need to do something out of the country, do the test, and we did it in South Africa. We were business people. You can realize the situation that have before our family. The cost was so extreme. In fact, I couldn't believe being told you need to pay about 70,000 or so. Today, it's very expensive to do karyotype, which is not done in Kenya. You can imagine a life of that situation. One day she told me, somebody hinted in the hospital, if you have such a child, it's a curse. Don't get worried. Just kill the child and forget about it, and you all will be well. This is after a long struggle. And I told her, I don't want to ever hear this, because you don't know why God gave us this child. Yeah. Mark you, it's a situation we cannot share with anybody. We cannot tell the community exact situation. So we were forced now to stay that way until our son went, he has undergone 3 surgeries because they tried to correct the situation. And it has been painful. Our business has been gone. Yeah. The first school where the child was, because I'm giving a summary, we had to transfer because the other children were bullying the child. Why? How comes you are not urinating like any other boy? So our child was so bullied, and then we had to transfer to another better school, possibly expensive, that we could, the way the children go to the toilet is a bit better. But financially, we went down drastically because of the cost. We tried many hospitals because the condition conclusively is known as mixed gonadodysgenesis, where the child is an intersex, but now karyotyping, we say is a boy, but you see karyotype says it's a girl, which makes it very rare. And you should also know that we have very variety of children who undergo this case. So what we have gone with this madam, people who are strong in business, doing everything, we became beggars. And it has been a very long journey and painful that I may not have better words to express this.
On 24th, you guys are going to have, let me call it a first win, because the government is going to identify and to recognize your son, as well as other hundreds of thousands of his kind. What does that make you feel, Irene?
It is encouraging knowing that the government have recognized there is a group of people,
Yes.
not female or male. I'm happy for that. Yeah.
Karanja, how about you?
I think the government is trying to correct a mistake that has existed for long, whereby we have a group of children who are born and they are not recognized, and therefore it's like they are second-class citizens. It will try to answer the education of these people, because most of them drop out of school. Then it will try to answer the health aspect in terms of the expenditure. As I can tell you now, any homestead in this country that gives birth to an intersex child, then they go into a specific bracket we call a catastrophic healthcare expenditure. That is where you use 40% of your annual income on health. None of these all tests are covered by any insurance, and I can tell you no private insurance is willing to get in to a business where it will use hundreds and hundreds of thousands over an issue it doesn't even know what the outcome will be. And the other thing is that you're having a group of people who cannot even do the small transaction on M-Pesa because of their documentation. You have a class of people who cannot even vote, and yet they are Kenyans and they are of age and they are of sound mind. So I think it will try to answer all those problems.
All right. And among the recommendations of the task force was to find a way of having NHF, like he said, having NHF incorporate the intersex in the fund as well.
Yes.
How soon do you think this will be realized?
Your answer is as good as mine. I'm not sure, but I think the fact that we are now on the first important step, which is one of the recommendations of the task force, that we count the number of intersex persons, and we also know where they're distributed in the various county, is a first step, because the numbers will inform then planning in terms of our public health system, and it will inform, for example, in NHIF, we already have the Linda Mama package. Yeah. That Linda Mama package can be enhanced, so that when a mother is going for the clinics, beyond the usual tests that a mother is tested, now you take special attention to this whole issue of the possibility of having an intersex child, and where immediately at birth, the midwives or the doctors, the nurses identify this is an intersex child, and you see the first thing is just looking at the ambiguity. Immediately you take a certain special interest in terms of the development of this child. Our prayer, because now the intersex task force has now been reconstituted again by the Honorable Attorney General as the Intersex Persons Implementation Coordination Committee, IPIC, is for that to happen immediately, because if NHIF, if the Ministry of Health, if our Kenya National Hospital, among other public hospitals, take immediate attention to the public health issue, we are going to save lives of children who die within the first 2 weeks because of being intersex. There is a special condition known as CAH, where if the child is not properly diagnosed, will die within 2 weeks, and boys die much more faster than girls. So we will save those children at birth, and then also we'll then be able to manage the health care of these children better. And one of the things we'll stop is what the Mainge family is saying. We stop normalizing the intersex children to be boys or girls, because you cannot change an intersex person and normalize them to be a boy or a girl. Karanja here may be looking the way he's looking, but he's still intersex. There are so many aspects of him that are very intersex. So we stop the normalizing, but we manage the health care of these children. So they are intersex children right now who are in great pain, because the health management system is not properly structured to take care of the whole well-being of the intersex child. So I do hope it can happen immediately, because that's a first aid support infrastructure for intersex persons.
Right.
Yeah.
Peter, your son, what does he want to be?
You had asked a question ahead in terms of what the IMAC is doing. Please allow me to answer that a little bit, then I come to that.
Yeah.
To us is a miracle. Having, as a caring father, I've been also told to divorce her, because she could be having some, culturally, because maybe there is a curse or something like that, but I said no. So having a mark of intersex in the coming census, to me, is a miracle. As a caring daddy, father who said I will never leave her, we will take care of this child, whatever comes, and this child is bright, mark you. Every family in this country will have to be asked this question: do you have a child, an adult with IMAC? So I know there will be some families who will be surprised. What is intersex? They will be explained. In fact, it will be a way of marketing the situation, because these people, we pray that our children will not undergo that. So having gone to NHIF, going through since the child was born, through clinics, surgeries and all that, for issue of handling the situation, we have really suffered. And because this issue is not budgeted, it becomes hard for even us to get any support, because maybe a child requires some special intervention. But now, that's why in the issue of it's something that I'm happy of it, and congratulations to our government, and I wish it all the way. When the latter question you've asked about the sex of the child, as a parent, we may not be in a better position to decide. That's why, since the way we have been following the condition of our child, as a parent, we have given him the name as a boy, because culturally we need to name him that way. Yeah. But I'm a bit worried, because we don't know how the body will respond in the future. So what we care for, number one, is health of this child. In fact, one of whatever on the right side, the ovotestis cannot stay there for all, maybe even to wait until that age, which can also be cancerous. This has been scary. You may see us talking confidently, or just as if we are okay. We are ailing. So health issue, number one. Number two, social. We have now transferred our child in 3 schools. Thank God for Sister of Kadre, who are now currently handling our child, where he has been admitted in school, and is even going through the school without payment, because they understood our situation. So I may not be able to say my child wants to be a boy or a girl.
No, so in terms of career, because when we were young, we were asked, what do you want to be? Some lawyers, others engineers, and of course, as a parent, if you know the qualities that a child has, that this one can be a doctor, or this one can be a lawyer, because there's always that assumption that if a child talks a lot and there's a lot of English or that fluent Swahili, probably this one is meant to talk a lot. So what is the direction? Does he want to be a lawyer, a doctor?
But nowadays, jobs are meant for everyone. You can find a man, a female who is a lawyer. You cannot decide.
So he has not told you what he wants to be?
But as a father, I interact and I love this child so much. I'll tell you frankly, sometimes God balances. Our child is very bright, extremely bright. By this I mean, our child at the age of 8 can light 1 trillion. We had been in hospital for now 8 years. Half of that time we have been in hospital, but every time he goes back to school, he performs well. Top 3 and he does well. I asked him the other day, Kin, what do you want to be? He wants to be a pilot.
Wow.
And he can fulfill that dream. But the only worry, and that's why the eye is making me being encouraged. Now we have transferred Kin to the or our child to the third school because of bullying, the way he goes to the toilet. So I'm hoping even the government can do as quickly as possible to have a quick intervention on the issue of social. Let every child in Kenya know there are children who are special. So if they go to toilet, no bullying. Don't laugh for them. Don't laugh because maybe they are not doing things usually. Some may even at the age of possibly 16 develop breast and maybe they were a boy.
Yeah.
So that change of physical, in fact, the other day, and allow me to say this, the manager of the school told me, if your child now changes physically to be the other sex, I don't think I will allow your child to be in school. And this brought a shock to my life. I don't have money. We still need to handle the hospital issue and possibly abroad because our country can't handle it. But what do we do? This child must be protected socially to end, and then we go to reproduction and finally sex at the age when they can be able to decide.
What do you do now?
I am a student at the University of Nairobi. I'm studying political science. I am also, we have an organization for intersex people, and mostly we offer psychosocial support to parents who have children like us. Yeah.
And what's the vision for this organization? Are you going to see a situation where you're not only going to focus on domestic, but also regional? Because as you understand, East Africa is opening up.
Yeah, I think it's already a conversation that is ongoing. So I will just be there, or we as an organization can only feed at the regional level some of this information. Yeah.
All right. Zedida, a lot is happening in terms of activism, and I know that going forward, this is probably going to gain traction within that field. Are you going to also be pushing for other interest groups, special interest groups, to also fight for that space without delving deeper into? I know you know what I mean.
I'm not sure I know what you mean, but what I do know is that the Intersex Persons Implementation Coordination Committee has the singular mandate of focusing on intersex persons.
Yes.
And we have to understand that if you're talking like when you're going to the moon, intersex persons are very many light years behind us. Because first of all, they don't exist as a people. So we have to first bring the social protection he's talking about. We have to appreciate them, accept them, acknowledge and say, it is okay, Karanja, you're intersex, I am female and you're male, and we are fine, we are human beings. And we treat him the way you will treat you and I. And I think that is the first step, really. So we have a lot of work to do with intersex persons, because counting them is just the beginning. Education, we have to restore them back to school, because Karanja is one of the few. Actually, I've not met any other in university. Most of them drop out in primary school. In fact, we're encouraging them to go back to school. We have to restore them back to school. Those who are in school, we have to ensure they're kept in school. You've heard about their baby. When the puberty, when the hormones start assigning themselves, it means, depending on how the school uniform is, we have to rethink how that child needs to dress so they continue to be within the mainstream of schooling. How do we set our toilet facilities? I mean, it's very typical, ladies, gents.
Right.
But if I'm an intersex person, it's not an easy choice as I would choose. So there's so much more. Health is so critical. And that is why one of the great recommendations is that we need to develop special protocols for intersex persons, so that within the public health system, you know what is expected. And when parents make a decision together with their child, it is they make an informed consent of what is happening. Because when you listen to many parents of intersex children, you ask them, so what clinic were you going? They are not sure. What tests were you doing? What for? They are not sure. Because the information is not quite clear to them. So it tells you there's still a lot of stigma, even in our conversation. And we need to help each parent having an intersex child to understand what is going on, and not to give them the false belief that your intersex child, we can make them to be male or we can make them to be female.
Right.
Let's leave that to nature.
There is a verse, as we wind up, I think we have a minute or so. There is a verse where Jesus is being asked whether...
Who sinned?
Yes, who sinned? Is it the child or is it the parent? But he answers that it is neither the child nor the parent, but it's for the greatness,
glory of God,
the glory of God to be seen. As parents, in less than a minute, what do you want to see, especially from those your fellow parents who are not in the situation that you are in? What would you want to see? Because I know you also have friends, and your son or your child also has friends, I'm sure. So what kind of a society going forward, because we know that the government has now considered this group, what do you want from your fellow parents who are not in the situation that you are in right now?
I think you can explain a bit and then I complement.
They should thank God. They are able to get a child with no abnormality. Secondly, let them embrace the other children, even if they have such conditions. Just let them know they are God-given gift. Yeah.
Right.
And on my side, I would say every parent in this country and the world at large, if you have a child with any deformity or possibly an intersex, as the way we are saying, give them hope, protect them. We have come up without fear because we want our children not to go through what Karaja has gone through. As parents, there are many possibly they could not even be able to accept. For us to have courage to talk the way we are talking, it has taken a lot of time. So no parent should kill the child because of this condition. No intersex child should commit suicide because of this condition. They must know they are God's given children, and they must know God loves them. Every parent, even those who are hiding, there comes a time and say, let's speak up and save life for these children so that they can be able to endelea vizuri in their life.
All right, Grania?
I think for me is that basically at large, people should learn to treat other people the way they would like to be treated if they were in their position.
All right, thank you. That was short and precise. Thank you very much, Peter, Irene, Karaja, and they did, of course, the task force really did a really good job.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I say one last thing,
Yes.
please? I think this night's discussion on family matters is very important for purposes of the 24th, 25th night. And our appeal is to the parents with intersex children and the adults who are intersex to take full advantage of that day and to record themselves when the enumerators come to your house, register yourself as intersex, even if at birth you are recorded as male or female. This is your time to be counted as an intersex person. Remember, the enumerators have taken an oath of secrecy, and therefore all the information, including a lot more sensitive information that will be asked about the family, will be kept confidential, and this will not be known. So if you're still are fearing to come forward, please do not, because if we lose out on this opportunity, you will have to wait another 10 years for this nation to count you. So please get counted on the 24th, 25th night of August this year.
All right. Yeah. That was really good. Thank you guys for coming on the program. And that does it for us for this week's Family Matters, 24th and 25th. Make yourself available, because the statistics, the figures that the government will come up with will also go towards budgeting for this country. I know that there's a lot of politics in it, but the goal is to know that how many people are in this country. My name is Edward Kabasa. On behalf of the team here, have yourself a very wonderful evening and a prosperous week ahead. Good night.